Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 118. You're here with Doug and Murph. Thank you for joining us. Today we'll be running through each of our favorite films of 2024. And as always, a friendly reminder before we begin, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to Live Breathe Film wherever you choose to listen to your favorite podcasts. We appreciate all your support. As mentioned, we are finally running through our favorite films of 2024. I know it's already April, but there were we had a backlog of things to talk about for various reasons. And then we also wanted to make sure that everything that I'd say that Doug didn't get to see earlier or at some point in 2024, in the beginning of 2025, he finally got a chance to see, so we could have a more accurate list and a better reflection upon last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it took a little while for me to get
A
there,
lot of
but I
things
think I
needed to
got
hit.
there.
You got there, but things needed to get hit streaming, or you'd be able to rent it at home in order to catch
Yeah.
some of these big movies. But yeah, I mean, the Oscars have passed, and even after that, there were still a couple that you wanted to make sure you got a chance to see. I know A Complete Unknown was the most recent film that you got to see, and that only hit streaming like a week ago.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna run through each of ours. We're also going to run through a bunch of the films that our former co-founder, co-host, Corey, um, that we know he liked a lot from 2024 prior to his passing in August, in late August. Um, so he'd seen about he saw basically everything from the first 8 months of the year. So we're going to be able to talk about some of the films that we know he enjoyed as well. And we'll do that after running through Doug and my respective lists. So, Doug, let's say we kick off with your top 10. Um, there's some overlap with yours and mine, but that's not a problem. Um, I'll talk about where things rank on mine, but we'll ultimately talk about the movies at large when talking, when going through yours. So you want to
Yeah,
start with
so
your number 10?
yeah. So my number 10 um, was Late Night with the Devil, which is a movie I probably saw a couple months ago. So a little late to the party on this one. Um, I had a feeling I was going to like this movie. I was kind of excited to eventually check it out. I don't know what took me so long to see it, but um, I really just kind of liked the way that they made this movie look like the Johnny Carson show, or like a variation of the Johnny Carson show. So it was kind of
Yeah,
like a talk show set in that particular time period, um, but with like a little bit of like a supernatural, or I guess a lot of bit of a
a lot of
supernatural
yeah,
vibe as it just as the especially as the show continues to go on. I think the ending is probably like what held this movie back for me, and it just goes like a little um, doesn't end as strong as I think the rest of the movie is. But I just thought like the production of just the way they made this show look like, or this movie look like a TV show from that period in time was just pretty impressive. And I thought everyone did a good job of just like making it feel like something out of that time. I don't know. It could have felt like it almost could have been like a Twilight Zone episode or something. It's like kind of like a long form Twilight Zone episode.
hmm yeah. My favorite aspect of the film was how they made it seem like a true like TV show that was actually competing with the Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, um, back in the 1970s. I thought they did that really well and captured that time period um, pretty accurately, as if this was something that actually existed, both from an
Mm-hmm.
entertainment perspective and then just from the whole supernatural side of things. It was pretty neat combo.
Yeah, they had like a skepticist on the show, which reminded me a lot of skepticists that used to go on the late night shows. So I thought that was kind of like a cool touch. I forget his name, but he used to always have like $1 million check that if you could like prove to him
Uh huh.
that you weren't full of shit, he would give it to you. And then they like basically just did that guy for this show, which I thought was neat. And then um, I don't think it works without Dave Delsmalchin's performance, which I don't think we've ever seen or him in a role like that, where
Yeah, he
he's
finally got like a big leading role. He's always been a reliable character actor.
yeah, he's usually like creepy guy, and then or
He
goofy or
came
yeah,
across
this
as
is
a character, as a solid, charismatic host of a late night talk show.
yeah for sure.
And
So
this hit Corey's list as well. Like this was once something a movie he was big on, as like a Shutter type person. He was more in tune of its release and hype for it, and it was something where it took like the reviews coming out and word of mouth before I was like, okay, you know what, I'll see it.
yeah, and that didn't, as I mentioned, that didn't get me to go see it until much later.
Yeah, probably nearly a year, but hey, you saw it.
I did see it, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
So next on my list, as number nine, and it's um, Murph. I'm sure you're gonna have more to say about this movie probably than me, just because I think you connected with this movie a lot. Is Anora, Academy Award winning movie Anora. I I actually like thought this movie did a lot of things really well. Mikey
Madison.
Mikey Madison.
Yep.
Um, I don't know why I wanted to say Mikey Day, and I was like, that's not right. Um,
No, no, that's the that was the
that's
SNL
SNL.
co-star last week. But when she hosted,
Yeah, my brain was like trying to like it was Mikey Day, and I was like, no, Madison. No, and yeah, it was kind of a weird. Anyway, um, not used to too many Mikeys
no,
in the world. Um, but yeah, so this is a good movie. I probably would have been higher on my list to be honest if it because of the comedy aspects. If I had seen it with an audience, just because I think probably like the audience being into it could probably elevate the movie more. But I thought the acting, particularly of Mikey Madison, was pretty fantastic. She does a great job of being this like northeast New Jersey, New York um, stripper. She plays it in such a like. There's a lot of different e- elements or different layers to this character, and the character has to do a lot of different things. Where you see them kind of, in the stripper role, where they're having to interact with customers and kind of hyping them up, and where she when she first gets introduced to the the Russian oligarch, and she's still kind of doing that act with him, and then as she kind of seems to fall for him and opens up a little bit more, you get to see kind of a lot of sides with her there, and then once he leaves, um, it starts to become more of like it really leans more into the comedy, I would say,
oh yeah, it gets
with
very
her the way.
becomes very much like a farce for or like slapsticky to a degree.
Yeah, like once the handlers show up and it's her with the handlers, that's when it gets like it really leans into being like a comedy.
Yeah,
But yeah, I thought it was a really original and really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, I think this one probably got hurt by the fact that I watched it at home
yeah,
versus in the theater with an audience.
yeah. I mean, I definitely had a very different experience seeing it. Caught it opening day with a Q&A with in New York City with Mikey Madison and Sean Baker. So it was like a absolutely like riotous crowd, like absolutely loving the film. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna not spoiler alert. It's ranked number one for me. I mean, I talked about it in depth when we did our Oscar episode, about how it being my pick for Best Picture along with Best Actress. One of those two, along with director, screenplay, and editing. Um, so four for Sean Baker, one for Mikey Madison. Um, but yeah, seeing it then was crazy, and then I had the experience of seeing it in theaters the night after it won Best Picture. Because I was like, oh, let's see, like it's a pretty full crowd. Let's see how the crowd reacts to this. That's are seeing it just based on the fact that it won Best Picture, and that crowd did not respond to the movie the same type of way that the cinephiles did on opening night. It was much more of really this movie won Best Picture, and
Yeah,
yeah, people laughing and stuff as the
yeah,
movie
it
gets
kind of hurts
more
movies
ridiculous.
sometimes.
But it does hurt the movie sometimes. Didn't, but it didn't hurt for me. I thought the movie was just as affecting. More so on uh, the dramatic sides definitely hit the hardest still, but it's still also very, very funny, regardless of people like being in a full auditorium of people laughing with you, just because it gets so outrageous to a point, as the sort of Cinderella story comes crashing down on her harder and harder until it gets to like a dark place, but with still yet some hope where it's not a completely like downbeat ending. Um, I don't know the way you
I
can
mean,
look at the way you can look at the
it's
movie. I like it. It's ambiguous in a lot of different ways. Like, how much did she really like the Russian guy she married, versus like her connection with Igor, the guy who's essentially like kidnapping her to a degree, keeping her a prisoner at one point, but then he turns out to be like the nice guy, um, taking care of her by the end of the movie. Um, it's like it's a more complex movie than it was made out to seem from trailers or even just from the first third of the movie, which is more of a romp, and then the second third of the movie, which is like a straight up comedy. Um, so I thought it plays a lot of different hands, and it just work. It's my type of movie. You had said like this when I think when you saw it or before you saw it that this seemed like my type of movie, and yes, this is my type of movie, especially when it's like that. I like the one crazy day type scene type. It gets to that aspect, because I
yeah,
love movies like that where it's just like chaos over a short sustained period of time, but over a long runtime.
yeah. Definitely think it's your type of movie. I was gonna say when you were saying a Cinderella story, I was thinking in my head like it's more of a Pretty Woman,
Oh yeah,
like
it's
a
a depressing make it's a depressing Pretty Woman to a degree.
yeah, like a darker Pretty Woman. I guess what Pretty Woman was originally supposed to be before like Disney got their hands on it and made it a more upbeat or more happy story. Um,
Yeah, and this makes Pretty Woman even more of a Disney movie than um, I guess it would have, like, regardless. Um, like that movie is just like a happy rom com, like with just like the faintest hints of like um, the fact that Julia Roberts is a hooker in that compared to Maggie Madison like being an escort and stripper in this one, where they really lean into the whole sex worker aspect, in comparison to Pretty Woman, where it's much less of
yeah, they
a
don't really
plot
lean into
point
it.
as the movie like moves on, where this is a big focus from beginning to end.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I know we mentioned it was your type of movie. Obviously, with the timing that this movie came out, Corey didn't get to see it, but I think it's probably you'd probably agree with me in saying this is also Corey's type of movie, and Corey would have liked this movie a lot.
Yes, good call. he really liked Red Rocket, Sean Baker's previous film. So I'm confident this absolutely would have been his type of film
Would
as
be what
well.
would be what a top. It would be on his top 10. I feel
It
pretty
would be,
confident.
yeah, I'm pretty confident it would be on his top 10, and it was something that he did draft for the fall box office draft. So he was definitely excited for it. He had seen the trailer for it and everything. Um, so yeah, good call.
Um, all right. Well, that will take us to number 8 on my list, which is The Fall Guy. Um,
Fun
I
movie.
thought this movie. Yeah, I thought this movie should have done better than it did. I'm not really sure why it didn't do as good as it did, just because of the how good I thought the promotional work they did, and it's got you
Two
know,
like two likable actors in Ryan
yeah,
Gosling and
you
Emily Blunt.
got Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. They kind of played up the whole Barbenheimer uh, piece, and they were able to, kind of. I thought use it effectively to promote this movie, but obviously not as effectively as the studio would have hoped. But yeah, I just thought this was a really fun movie. It did like the whole action, um, fun action movie genre just really, really well. I thought all the set pieces were really fun. I thought all the stunt choreography was great. I just had a really great time with this movie, and yeah, it was close to not making my top 10. But the more I thought about it, it was kind of like just um, the more I just had a good time with this movie.
Yeah, it was a solid tribute to stunt people who work in Hollywood. Uh, it was definitely not 100% what I was expecting plot wise based on the trailers. I thought they did a good job of making it not exactly like the movie that I was expecting it to be. Um, where I thought like I was like, oh, this is clear you're going to go in this direction, but it didn't. So that was
Same, yeah.
cool. That was refreshing. Um, Corey did catch it before I did, and um, I believe he had said like, yeah, the marketing does not give everything away, and I was like, bullshit, you're just saying that, and yeah, no, it did not at all. So yeah, he was a big
Yeah.
proponent of this film, and it was we put it on his we'll call it a top 20 list, 20 films that we really focus that we know he truly like enjoyed a lot in 2024. But yeah, you want to go on to your number 7 pick?
Yeah. So my number 7 was I Saw the TV Glow. It's a movie that just saw probably the last couple months, even though it's been out for feels like a long time.
I think came
Um,
out last May, if I'm not mistaken.
okay. So yeah, it took me a while to get to this one. Um, this is it's a hard movie to describe just because it's such a weird movie. Uh,
As Corey would say, it's David Lynchian, um,
yeah,
and it is
I,
on all three of our lists.
yeah. It's just it is David Lynchian. That's a good way to describe it. It's a weird movie, um, which is primarily seems to be about accepting yourself and conformity, and has all these like deeper meanings, but it's all kind of under this weird, surreal, um, under this real surreal movie of this character who discovers a TV show in around like what the 90s
Yeah.
is when this is taking place, or as a
Yep.
kid discovers a TV show, bonds over the TV show with another woman, and then she or another girl, and she disappears and leaves, and then she comes back later in the movie. But it's just I don't know how you like describe the story, and maybe you can do a better job than I can with the TV glow, but like it's just like a lot of weird. There's a lot of weirdness around the watching of the show and how it makes the characters feel, how the characters' parents react to them watching the show. I don't know. It's just it's got a very weird. It's got a weird vibe to it. It's almost kind of reminds me too a little bit of like Donnie Darko, maybe, and like how like weird Donnie Darko can be at times. Um, but yeah, it's very original. Uh, but I think effectively conveys emotions through the weirdness of the movie.
Yeah, it's certainly not the easiest film to explain. I mean, they basically made a movie about um, like a metaphor for like being trans and gender, and did that under the coat of a somewhat horror leaning film
90s,
that's based on the love of media from the 90s, like Nickelodeon's like snick shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then other like teen shows on like WB, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. um, and yeah, it's very different, but it's like captivating by both the performances and the visuals, the whole aesthetic of everything, and just the general like weirdness of the film. But I mean, yeah, I mean, after I saw the movie, like I had to like dive deep and like really try to like understand everything that I was missing. And yeah, I mean, it really dives in. Like the filmmaker is transgender, um, so it really took used like accessible things to, I guess, tell a non-accessible story. So I feel like the Academy like could have leaned in more, and if they wanted to like show their progressive values, they could have. They were like, oh, let's go with Amelia Perez, but you had something that was like much more sophisticated and layered, and I saw the TV glow, um, which doesn't just like spoon feed the subject matter. And um, yeah, again, it's tough to truly like talk about this one because of
I
how.
don't know how they like pitched it to a studio because
I
I
mean,
was like,
thankfully they were
I
pitching
can't.
it to A24, who will do
Yeah,
off like the wall offbeat projects. Um,
I can't even like. I saw the movie and I can't even like really describe it. I
yeah,
don't know how they describe the concept. I guess they were just like you said, it's just a story of what it's like to be transgender, told in this '90s love for '90s media package. I guess if you were trying to pitch it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it
that's
seems
probably
like it's
that's basically the log line. Like if you're like you've got like a one sentence like pitch. Um, I don't know how else you really go about it, but
but I
yeah,
think it could
it definitely
apply.
wouldn't be something sold easy to like a major studio.
Oh no, not at all. I think like the like conformity and like the as the character grows up, like the hiding of who they are, like I think it could be applied beyond transgender, although this one was clearly a little bit more focused on transgender, but I thought like there's themes in there that I think go beyond being transgender, and so I think that
Oh yeah, I mean
a lot of different people can.
anything that's eating away at
Yeah,
you, or any sort of like trauma, doesn't
yeah,
even necessarily have to be like, um, in relation to gender or sexuality or anything. It could just be
Yeah.
something that's been eating at you since your youth, and how it really like can tear away at you as you age, um, as you see happen to Justice Smith's character throughout the film. Um, I mean, when the film begins, his character Owen is only just like kid, not even played by him, and then it gets to a point where he looks like an old, decrepit man, even though he's played by Justice Smith and seemingly only like in his like 20s or 30s at that point. I forget what the time period, like how much time has elapsed, um, by the time that him and Maddie are no longer connecting, and when he has a chance to finally like decide like, hey, am I going to like go back to like my love of this TV show and who he they are, or else just like live the same life they've been living, which is, spoiler alert, what they choose, and it gets more horrific from that point on. But yeah, crazy visuals, and like I said, very David Lynchian, as Corey would like to say about anything that was very visually out there, in certain ways. So yeah, it was on it. It was definitely on his list as well, and I could see the David Lynch vibes after starting to get into Twin Peaks this year, um, as you have as well, and we'll eventually talk about it on the podcast, in depth, later this year as a another little tribute to Corey, since it was the show that he loved and was trying to get us to watch for so long, but we never did, because there's a bajillion shows out there.
Yep. That's for sure. Which we'll get into in our TV show episode.
Yeah.
Uh, the number 6 movie on my list is A Real Pain. Um, Jesse Eisenberg wrote the movie, directed the movie,
Yep.
and also stars him with Kieran Culkin. This was a movie that I was not
Also,
like.
it was
What else you
produced
got?
produced by Emma Stone, who also produced I Saw the TV Glow.
Oh,
She has become one of the great producers in Hollywood for getting small movies out into theaters. She's been having her and her husband, who's a writer on SNL, um, have done a great job getting these like smaller projects made. Um, like last year, she did those two movies along with Problemista, which I did not see. It was another A24 movie with Julio Torres. He's got a couple of, he worked on SNL, I believe, and then had a couple HBO shows. But she also produced Jesse Eisenberg's first movie prior to A Real Pain, when he finished Saving the World. So that Zombieland team up paid off for Jesse Eisenberg
yeah, it sounds like it.
and Emma Stone.
Yeah, so I mean, this was a movie that I thought the previews didn't really like make it look like my type of movie. Wasn't really looking forward to it, and here we are. After seeing it, it's on my top 10 list. I thought I mean, at the core of it, it's a fairly simple movie. Two cousins going on a trip to, is it Poland?
Yes.
Two cousins going on a trip to Poland to kind of see their family's history on who suffered through the Holocaust. I thought the interaction between the two cousins, I think, is obviously the star, or like the heart and engine of the movie. Um, I thought their dynamic was really interesting. With they both are flawed characters in their own way, and they both I think see some things in each other that they wish they had in themselves. Like I think Jesse Eisenberg's character likes how Kieran Culkin's character is like very charming. Um, Everyone seems to like him. And then I think Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg's character probably like the stability and just like the having a family and not being a complete screw up. But the way those two characters just interact, I thought was just so well done. It felt very like they both felt like real people and like real family members. And so I thought Jesse Eisenberg wrote a great script. I thought he delivered a great performance, and then Kieran Culkin um, was great as the kind of the screw up cousin. Um, I think both characters were probably in each actor's wheelhouse, just based on the type of people they were. I think
100%. Yeah.
Eisenberg wrote a character that was like probably a variation of himself,
Yeah.
and Kieran Culkin. I don't think he wrote Kieran Culkin's character with Kieran Culkin in mind, but it had definitely had played. It definitely played to some of Kieran Culkin's strength as an actor. So much so that he won Best Supporting Actor. So yeah, I just thought this was a great movie, and I thought it was going to be like a stupid, you know, two guys on this crazy road trip type comedy for some reason,
Hmm.
and it wasn't that at all. It was much more of like a drama with some comedy elements. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was a surprise for me, and I really dug this movie a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely took aspects of like the public personas of each of Jesse Eisenberg appears to be on talk shows and in interviews and things like that, along with Kieran Culkin. But at the same time, like Kieran Culkin doesn't come across as a depressive, previously suicidal person, or so they are. He is also required to do things outside of his wheelhouse and who he naturally seems to be, like the charismatic guy that Jesse Eisenberg's character wishes he was when he sees his cousin. Um, yeah, he clearly wishes he could have that aspect of his personality, but like you said, like there's a dark side to him as well, whether it's depression or basically just being like a pothead living in his grandma's basement before his grandma died. Um, so um, yeah, I thought they both did well with what we know of them and what we've seen from them in past performances. But um, Culkin did a great job delivering in at certain aspects that we haven't seen before, although we have seen him do breakdowns and stuff well on Succession, particularly dealing with in the final season, dealing with his dad, and then Jesse Eisenberg. This was my first time experiencing him as both a writer and director, and I thought he did a great job on both fronts, more so on the writing, because it really shouldn't have, wasn't not easy to pull off a Holocaust related dramedy, but he did it very well.
Oh yeah,
It is a funny movie, and it is that tackles serious shit at the same time, and does that with respect. So kudos to him.
yep. So that takes me to my number five, which was Nosferatu. Um,
Corey's most
like it,
anticipated of the year.
yeah, this was Corey's most anticipated movie of the year. It was not my most anticipated movie of the year.
Yeah, it wasn't on your. Was it on your? It wasn't on your top 10, right?
I don't think so. I don't think it would have been on my top 10.
Yeah.
Um, I just like this movie. I saw it. Like yeah, I saw it New Year's Eve, um, and I just really like the aesthetic that was created throughout the movie. I thought the scene where um, I don't remember the character's name. Um,
Nosferatu.
no, it's who's the guy that plays Beast on X Men?
Harker.
Who?
Harker. his character, or like
Is that
that's
his
the
character's name? Parker?
character's Harker is his last name.
Okay. When Parker first goes on his
Harker with an
adventure,
H.
Harker. When Harker first shit goes to Nosferatu's castle for the first time, and that whole journey to get there, and then was
Sorry, it
like
was
when he.
Hutter. We had that whole thing, and I got the name wrong. Thomas Hutter.
Okay. Well, when Thomas Hutter has to journey to Nosferatu's castle for the first time, and just the aesthetic of like the cart pull or the carriage pulling up and just going there, and the way that it was shot and the way that it was visualized, I just really dug it. I thought it was a really he did a great job of creating an atmosphere. Um, I thought all the acting was great. I know I've seen complaints that Lily Rose Depp, some people felt like was a little bit much. I didn't think her performance bothered me at all. That I get she's doing a lot of screaming and body contortion and type stuff, but none of that bothered me. And I just thought it was an enjoyable movie, and um, I think Corey would have enjoyed it
Oh
as
yeah, no,
well.
he would have loved it. I mean, it was another Robert Eggers gothic horror movie. 100%
Yeah,
would have loved it.
I
Just
think
like he would have loved his next movie, Werewolf, that's coming out on Christmas of 26.
yeah, he's creating, I guess, a whole classic monster,
Yeah, he's
classic.
tackling everything: witches, uh, vampires, werewolves, the whole shebang.
Yeah. So it was good. I think if there was only one critique I had to give, or if I had to give one critique, it might have been that I would have probably. I get how it was historically accurate, but like the Nosferatu character design was a little weird for me.
I figured that's
Uh,
what you were going to. I thought you
yeah.
were specifically going to talk about his mustache.
I mean, but Edgar's thing is he likes to make things historically accurate. So
Oh
he
yeah,
had to, I think his rationale was like, I want to make him look like what a Transylvanian man from this time period would have actually looked like. And so
yeah,
that's what we got.
yeah. Didn't make my top 10, but I definitely enjoyed it quite a bit. I saw it twice in theaters, and it hit more the second time, mostly because I was a little too tired the first time I caught the movie. But yeah, I definitely would recommend this to horror fans, to fans of Robert Egger. Um, Harker was actually the character's last name in Dracula, because Nosferatu was just a
Dracula ripoff.
adaptation. Yes, it was not even an adaptation. It was just a Dracula ripoff, where they just changed some names and a couple other aspects. Um, but yeah, no, the film. I guess the easiest way to describe it would be like it's a Robert Eggers film, Robert Eggers horror like film. If you've seen The Witch, like you know what you're getting into. Even if you've seen The Lighthouse, you kind of know what you're going to get to. Going to get because you're going to get a weird Willem Dafoe like type performance.
Hmm.
Just part of what he does. So I did enjoy it. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, that'll take us to number four, My Old Ass. So, so My Old Ass is a threefer, I guess, or however we want to call it, but it's on my list. It's on your list, Murph,
Yes,
uh, as
and
number. What number you have it on?
7, I
Seven?
think.
Yeah, lucky number seven. And then it's also on Corey's list.
Yeah, it's
So,
definitely one I could see moving up on mine over the years. Like, I'm not going to necessarily go back to some of the ones that are higher on my list. I was very close between swapping this and the one right above it, but ultimately chose not to.
yeah. So, My Old Ass, I saw this not in the movie theater or not even at home. I saw this on the plane. Um, I forget where I was going up to New Jersey, and I don't remember, or back from New Jersey. I don't know. One of those two
I think you
things.
were coming up here in December.
Okay, I was coming up in December, and my old ass was on the plane, and I had heard both you and Corey say good things about it, so I threw it on. It's a short movie, so plenty of time to watch it during my flight. Um, and I was not prepared to be crying on the plane based on where the movie goes, and just how emotional it is. But it's a fantastic movie. I mean, the acting is great. You've got I don't know even know why I bother trying to remember people's names at this
Maisie,
point.
Maisie Stella,
Yep. And you also have playing the older version,
Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza. Uh, both do a great job. I mean, did I necessarily feel like that was like one was an older version of the other? Maybe not entirely, just because Aubrey Plaza is a little different looking and all that, but enough so that it didn't take me out of the movie or um, didn't ruin anything for me. But it's just such a the, the whole concept of an older you talk a younger version of yourself talking with an older version of yourself. So like a pre-college version talking to I don't know. Aubrey Plaza was supposed to be in like late
Oh,
30s, maybe.
yeah, she was turning about to turn 40.
Okay, um, and just the different experiences that you bring and the different person you are in those two different periods of time, I thought was really interesting, and it was a really interesting way to show that. And then just I don't really want to spoil anything about the movie, but I just thought it was interesting to see where it ultimately ended, since Aubrey Plaza's trying to prevent her younger self from making the same mistakes that she made in life, um, so that they can both kind of avoid some of the trauma and pain that they went through. Um,
Yeah,
and I thought just
without saying what that pain trauma exactly is, which hits hard when it eventually gets to that point. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, very funny movie and very heartfelt movie and very emotional. Like hits all those beats. Definitely like wells you up and yeah, definitely cried in public, but it was in a dark movie theater, so not on an airplane. Uh, but anyone watching this, they can watch the movie in the comfort of their home and bawl away as necessary. Um, but yeah, Megan Parks turned out to being a pretty solid director. Her first film opened on um, HBO Max back when it was HBO Max. Um, it was called the Fallout, I believe. Yes, the Fallout. So Jenna Ortega deals with the fallout of a school shooting. Um, it was a very strong film that I caught after seeing my old ass, because I wanted to see what she'd previously done because I was so impressed. But yeah, Corey and me saw this at theaters back in a sort of mini, local film festival a few months prior to it being released in theaters. So we saw it back in June of last year. We ultimately decided we wouldn't talk about it on the mid-year um, best of list because it wasn't available for people to actually see at that point since it wasn't coming out. We recorded the episode in July and it wasn't coming out until September. So we're like, we'll hold back on it until the end of the year. Um, Little did we know what would happen. Um, that we can't all talk about it, but fucking that's life. You don't know what's around the corner and shit like that. But yeah, glad he got to see the movie. I know he was really like enthusiastic about it afterwards. Really was hyped to see it with his fiance, and was like, "Damn, I like wish she was able would have been able to come. This is like right up her wheelhouse." And I know Kate eventually did. um, catch it at home, um, and liked it as well, and definitely impactful for her. So yeah, it like you said, it's on my top 10 as well. I'm very confident it would be on Corey's top 10 for the entire year if we were to narrow it down, along with some of the other ones that we've talked about so far, um, and some movies that came out after he passed that we wouldn't include. Um, for example, Terrifier 3, I imagine, would have made his top 10, but it didn't make either of ours. But yeah, my old ass, check it out on Amazon Prime if you haven't. Didn't make the money it should have in theaters, but you can catch it at home.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will take us to number 4 on my list, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, I have to imagine this was on my top 10 most anticipated list.
And it was on. I think it was close. It was one or two on every single one of our most anticipated lists of 2024. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
I
not
think
a
it was
surprise at
that. And,
all.
it was. I think it was that and Dune. Well, no, because Corey Nosferatu. It would never went lower than number 3 on anyone's list because we were all hyped about Dune Part 2 and this. Um,
Yeah. So I think, I mean, in my opinion, Deadpool and Wolverine delivered. I think, obviously the main selling point is you have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine in the comic book accurate costume, which is, what the whole selling point of the movie was. And then, you know, what does that mean for the Fox universe since Wolverine and Deadpool are from the Fox universe? Are they going to finally get their, now that they're with Disney, are they finally going to cross over into the Disney MCU universe? So I think there was a lot of questions we had going into this. This probably the weakest part of this movie, and what pulls it back from probably even being like one or two on my list is I thought the story itself was a little flimsy at times, and they have a bit of a two villain problem um, throughout. But I thought what makes up for it is just kind of the fun, good time that the characters are having. I thought I enjoyed. I know I don't think you did the bye 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 intro,
yeah,
and
I enjoyed the intros to some of the other previous Deadpool movies more.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, and then I thought Hugh Jackman was great as always, playing as Wolverine, and they thought they had some really fun cameos that they kept under wraps with Chris Evans showing up as Johnny
Johnny
Storm.
Storm, Wesley
I
Snipes
thought
as
was great.
Blade, Channing
Yeah,
Tatum as Gambit.
Channing Tatum is like has kind of stolen the show for me as Gambit. I just thought he was just such like a
He made
fun.
such an impression. He's back in Avengers Doomsday.
That's so crazy to me. Who
Yeah,
the hell would have thought that he was gonna come back as Gambit?
one of the most
Uh,
shocking announcements for Doomsday of the cast so far is
so
him.
good.
Yeah,
Um, and then I mean, one of the other things I just had up that made me really enjoy this movie is obviously, after seeing it, the three of us got to come on here and talk about it, and it was obviously a lot of fun to talk about all the different cameos that we saw, and what it would mean for what it would or wouldn't mean for the future of the MCU and how these characters are gonna fit in later. So I think yeah, this was a fun. I mean, all the MCU movies are kind of fun for us to talk about, but as of late, I would say they had gotten less fun, and this was kind of the first time where I felt like we were kind of having a good time talking about like, oh, well, what does this mean for the future, and oh, that that cameo is so cool.
yeah,
Probably since uh, maybe No Way Home.
yeah, probably. I mean, this was the
So
first. This was the first multiverse movie since No Way Home that worked. Um, and I guess the only other multiverse project that it really has worked has been Loki. I mean, what else? We got Multiverse of Madness, which didn't really work. Quantum Mania, or it worked, but like the multiverse aspect was kind of a bust. But the movie was still fun. Quantum was just a stinker, at least in my opinion.
I
And
agree.
yeah, I mean, on the TV side, it's really just been Loki, right? Has there really
Yeah, just
been any multiverse stuff on TV?
no. They seemed like they were teasing it in WandaVision, and that was a Ralph Boner
Yeah,
joke.
yeah. So we'll see if the multiverse saga pays off over the next 2 years with Doomsday and Secret Wars and Fantastic Four. But so far, it's paid off it somewhat, and Deadpool was one of those highlights. What I was concerned about with this movie was that it wasn't going to hold up because it is a joke per like second type of movie, and so we're like reliant on those surprise cameos to a degree. But I actually liked it. I saw it 3 times in theaters and liked it more each time. So even though like the theaters thinned out each time and there was less of the clapping and like crazy laughing and stuff, I actually enjoyed the movie more. Um, the again the emo like why is in a scene with Madonna playing over a scene with Deadpool and Wolverine like saving the world like so like emotional and iconic. Like I've heard that rendition of Like a Prayer be used in so many edits and
It's all
videos
over
on
like
Instagram
Instagram.
for the past year. Like
Yeah.
it just like worked so well. So that is my favorite musical cue of the film. Like that so much, but like it basically bookends the bye 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 is like the first one and that's the last one. I mean, obviously the climax of a movie is going to tend to probably have a um, it should be better than an opening of a movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was just it really worked. Hugh Jackman just went settled right back into the role of Logan um, without skipping a beat, and it did tarnish Logan's ending, Logan's ending for the film from 2017. That's still there and still a great, solid ending point for the character. While this alt version of Wolverine does his thing, and hopefully, I mean, definitely is going to end up returning in whether it's Doomsday or Secret Wars. He'll be one of them.
Yeah, they're holding a lot back for sure.
Yeah,
I think like the cast announcements were just like um, the tip of the iceberg. I think
yeah. I
there's
mean,
going to
they've
be a lot
said
more.
they've got a lot more cast members to announce. Like they're not even going to keep a lot of like them all secret. Like they might bring up a whole nother video, like 5.5 hour video of chairs coming out for all we know.
I don't
Um,
think they're going to do that again. I think they maybe got caught enough heat for that. I don't know if people are going to sit around and watch Chairs again.
I
I think
mean,
they
it was a
learned.
very viral moment. Like
It was a very
they
viral moment,
controlled the internet. Um,
but I don't think people realized how long Disney was going to ask them to stare at chairs, and then once they were in, they were
yeah,
in. I think if like that started up again, I don't think you would see people hang on as long.
yeah, probably not.
Uh,
And I doubt they
but
have
yes,
another 30 cast members to announce for this specific film. But yeah, definitely hope to see more of Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU and seeing how they work in a PG-13 rated film compared to the R-rated one um, that they're now both used to.
yep. All right, so that'll take me to my number three on my list, which is Wicked. Um, musical adaptation, of course, of the popular play Wicked. Um, this is one that I wound up enjoying way more than I thought I originally would. I doubt this was on any of our top 10 most anticipated movies.
It was on like our fucking most ridiculed list, like when the year began.
Yeah, I thought the trailer looked like trash. It just looked like CGI, terrible. I thought, like the trailer, the way it showed, like the acting didn't really do anything for me. Um, I don't know. It feels like they probably should fire whoever did that trailer because it did such a poor job selling what I thought wound up being a fantastic movie. Um,
It must have
I thought,
it must have connected though. I mean, The movie fucking made a boatload of money opening weekend. It wasn't like it was a word of mouth movie, or maybe people were just going to see it no matter how the trailer looked.
Yeah, I mean it's a very popular property, um, Wicked, and then obviously the source material is The Wizard of Oz. So I mean it's very popular in pop culture. They had Ariana Grande being one of the two co-leads in the movie. I think probably helps since she's of course a superstar. Um, but and the way they marketed the movie outside of the trailer
The
with
trailer, the trailers got better as they went along.
that's true too. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect much from this. I thought the production, like the sets and everything, I thought actually it looked surprisingly great. Wasn't anywhere near as CGI reliant as I thought it would be. I thought Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande both killed it. And yeah, this has got to be like one of my favorite musical adaptations ever, probably. Just because I thought they did it so well.
He's
I
still
had seen
got
the
the
play.
second act.
Yeah, I had still seen the play, um, and I enjoyed the play. But yeah, I thought this was just as good, if not, better in some ways, just because they can do a lot more production wise. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. If if we did a top anticipated list, did we do one for 2025?
We did. I think you had Wicked for good at number one.
Okay, all right, good. Because that's what I was gonna say. This is one where like Wicked for Good, for sure is that would be on my top 10 list if I did one. Apparently I did and I forgot about it, which is a little concerning for my memory. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie enough so that it's now number 3 on my top 10.
Yeah, I'm going back just to see.
I'm sure it was on there.
I'm just looking at how high it was. But it was very high. I liked the film as a lot, but I mean, didn't have the sequel on my um, top 10, or nor do I have the film on my um, most anticipated of the year, or on my top 10 of 2024. The first film. Sorry, I'm like multitasking trying to find this
No, you're fine.
most anticipated list. So I do want to see just how high you had it, to just emphasize how much you really did fucking enjoy this movie. You had it at, yeah. So you had a number 3 overall. You above that you were, of course, number 1 was Avatar, Fire and Ash, and number 2 for you was the Fantastic Four: First Steps.
Okay. And though it's funny as the stock for Fantastic Four has kind of dropped on me a little bit, so I don't know if I would have put Fantastic Four as high.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got some I forget the word I'm trying to think of. You got kind of like a rhyming pattern in the fact that Wicked is number 3 for your best of 2024. Wicked for Good is your number 3 for your most anticipated of 2025.
Yeah, I'm consistent, I guess, in my
Yeah,
placement of Wicked.
yeah, you are. But yeah, I didn't have the film in my top 10, but I can eat crow because I thought it looked like shit, and I was um, very pleasantly surprised. Like when I saw like Oscar pundits being like, "Yeah, I think could be nominated for all these awards." I was like, "Did you fucking watch the trailer? It looks terrible. Like,
Yeah.
you out of your minds?" And no, it was worthy of plenty of the awards it was nominated for. I mean, when we did our Oscar episode, I would have given Ariana Grande Best Supporting Actress. I thought she was fantastic, as was Cynthia Erivo. Um, just the Best Actress race was much harder. There's no way I would give her the award over Mikey Madison, um, among other performances. I mean, ultimately, like Ariana Grande got to play like the more of the comedic scene stealer. Um, and
Yep.
also, I've never really seen her act outside of SNL sketches before, so it was more of like a revelation. I wasn't watching her on Nickelodeon back in the day; I was too old for that, and I don't know if she's been in any other movies. I mean, I was pretty shocked when she got a lead role in Wicked um, to begin with, just based on her
Yeah,
acting history.
yeah. Her big thing was TV, right?
Yeah,
That
from
was
what I'm
really
aware, it
like,
was Nickelodeon TV shows
yeah. She was
before
on
becoming a pop star.
what was that show that was really popular that she was on?
Um, she was on a
Uh,
spinoff with one of the iCarly girls.
oh yeah, yeah. That's right. Sam and Cat.
Yeah, and I think she was on a show that prior to that, so it was like combining two shows or characters from two different shows.
Yeah. So I mean, she had some minimal TV acting, but yeah, I mean, very impressive that she was able to,
But it
you
was
know,
right in her wheelhouse. I believe she performed this role like back when she was younger. Um, was like has been a massive Wicked fan like throughout her life. I mean, the majority of her life. The play came out in 2003. She was like a theater geek, if I'm not mistaken. So she probably saw it way back in the day. Um, so yeah, I mean, they ultimately nailed the casting on both fronts. I'm excited to see the next one. Um, it was better than I thought it had any right to be.
yep, I
A
agree.
lot better. And again, haven't seen the musical, so I can't. I'm just going based on the whole concept of doing a prequel to Wizard of Oz based around these witches and how it seems like a completely unnecessary type of story, but it has worked so far for me.
Cool, good. Well, we'll have to see if Wicked for Good works for you as well. I'm hoping it does.
Yeah. Title
Hoping it works
stupid.
for both
So
of us.
they're on a bad start just like last time, but yeah,
It's better than Wicked 2, so
it should be Wicked Act 2. And
you know what?
they
It's
should have named the first one Wicked Act 1. Not Wicked Part 1 on screen and just Wicked off screen.
they should
But
have hit
whatever.
if yeah, yeah, whatever. Anyway, that'll take us to number 2 on my list, The Wild Robot. Um, also on your list.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. Very, very good
we
film.
s- we saw this movie together
Yeah.
when you were here. Um, yeah, I mean, from the animation to the voice acting to the fantastic music and song, I just love this movie. I think it's got a ton of heart. I think it's a movie that I've watched a couple of times since I saw it in the theaters, and I think it holds up fantastically well. I just think it's a great movie. I will probably be watching this um, a bunch more times um, between now and leading up to the sequel. Or my understanding is there are going to be more of these movies, so sign me
Yep.
up.
Sequel's already greenlit. I think it's
Um,
based on a trilogy of books. And they only covered the first one so far.
yeah, that's what I heard. Which it felt like a complete movie the way it
Yeah.
ended. So um, kind of surprised that there's more, but like I said,
Hopefully
sign me
they
up. I
don't
love this movie.
hopefully they don't screw it up. And the source material is solid.
Yeah, I mean this movie just hit really well for me. I don't know that I have too much to say about it other than, like I said, the animation's great. I think the story's great. The music's great.
It's
All the
one of the
voice acting, I thought.
one of the rare films that works in 3D. It was a
I,
treat. It
I,
was a treat going to see it in 3D the second and third time I saw it.
yeah, I didn't see it in 3D, so I guess that sucks for me. Um, but yeah, great visually. It is available on Paramount, but I would say buy the 4K if you can because it looks so much better. For whatever reason, it gets nerfed through that streaming platform. If it is a Paramount, did I get that right? No,
Um,
Peacock.
yeah, it was a Universal movie.
It's Peacock. Yeah, Peacock streaming just doesn't seem to be on the same level as some of the other ones with as far as 4K goes. I didn't think it looked anywhere near as good through Peacock than it did on the 4K disc.
Yeah. Killer voiceovers from Lupita Nyong'o,
Lupita,
and
yeah, she killed it.
specifically with Pedro Pascal also, among many others. Don't know if this would have made Corey's. He's not like a huge animation guy. Um, but yeah, like you said, it is on my list, high on my list, number three on my list. So I had very strong opinions on it as well. Um, what do we caught this and Joker Folie Do? Those are the two movies we saw down when I was down in Florida this fall.
We
Joker
saw
did
more
not
than
make
that.
Joker did not make either of our lists. Um, we saw two other movies, but they were re-releases.
They were re-releases, yeah.
Yeah,
Those were the two new movies we saw. Yeah,
yeah,
Joker, Folie à Deux. Um,
which I actually enjoyed,
definitely on,
but not a top 10 movie.
definitely was on Corey's most anticipated list. Uh,
It was on mine. Was it on either of yours?
he drafted it super high. I don't know.
He did
It
draft
could
it
have.
super high, but I don't think it was on either of his lists. Um, I'm not gonna look it up just because I
Okay.
get too distracted when I do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, regardless, yeah, Joker wasn't great. So, um, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't.
It,
Um,
it wasn't the stinker that like the world made it out to be.
yeah, but it wasn't a movie that made either of our top tens.
Yeah,
It wasn't close to making my top 10. It's not like it
yeah,
was just outside or anything. But anyway, Wild Robot was the other movie we saw, and it, you know, was close to making, the number one movie for me at number two. So, very two different, two very different movies, I guess, for that weekend. But yeah, Wild Robot. Can't wait for the sequel, just like Wicked for Good. That'll definitely be high up on my most anticipated when that's coming out.
for sure.
And that takes me to my number one movie, which was Dune Part 2. So, Dune Part 2, I think, is the payoff that you're looking for when Dune Part 1 finishes.
When Dune part one abruptly ends.
Um, Dune Part 1 does a lot of the setting up of things so that we can
Yeah,
finally get to,
so much world
yeah.
building and things like that.
And then Dune Part 2 is just, man, if there's outside of like the Avatar movies, if there's a movie that, I'm recommending to people, like you have to see this in the movie theater on a big screen. I mean, it's these Dune movies. I just think they look great. The cinematography is gorgeous. Uh, Denis Villeneuve does a great job shooting this movie, giving the sandworms like scale. A lot of great action happens in this movie. And then you've got the Hans Zimmer score, which was a level up from the first score that he did, which was also a very great score. But I thought this second score was probably what up there as far as movie scores go. It's a shame that he got disqualified or his score got disqualified because I think it probably would have won an Oscar if he was able to get nominated for this, just because he got nominated for the first score, and I think this score was an improvement over that. Um, but yeah, just a fantastic movie. To me, this was the best picture and should have won best picture, but Anora was also great. I wasn't upset that Anora won, but I would have liked this movie to get a little bit more love at the Academy Awards just because I thought it was so damn good. And I thought it just like, it just feels like a movie that, like I said, like you need to be in the theater to see it just based on like how great the sound design, the music, how great the movie shot. Like it just does everything so well. I just really enjoyed this movie a lot. And then the acting is great with Timothy Chalamet. Um, Zendaya gets more to do. She didn't really have anything to do in the first one. She just kind of like just see pictures of her,
Yeah.
and then she promoted the hell out of the first movie, but doesn't really appear. And then God, what's his name? Uh,
Austin Butler,
no, Austin Butler's good in the movie, and his
Timothy
scene with the
Chalamet,
black and white shot. What was that?
Timothy Chalamet,
No, I mentioned Timothy Chalamet already. He's basically like the comedic relief,
Javier Bardem.
unexpectedly. Yeah, Javier Bardem. Um, I thought was great in this movie too. He does it the way like he delivers his lines, and just like the way that the people just see Timothy Chalamet's character as Paul Atreides as the Messiah, um, just leads to some kind of pretty funny moments in the movie. So yeah, I
Yeah,
just for all those reasons, this was like the movie for me. But it's probably like 1A, 1B with just because like I really feel really strongly about the Wild Robot too. So Wild Robot's kind of like a close second here for me.
yeah. Dune Part Two is a close um, number two with Anora for myself. It was like right between those two movies. They're so tonally different, and just different in every aspect. One's a micro, like independent film. Um, the other is massively large scale sci-fi. But yeah, it like you said, it's a payoff to part one. I did watch part one and two back to back on New Year's Day, um, and they work very well as one complete story. I
It's a very
think if
long story.
it's a very long story, but it's 5 plus hour story. But if they didn't advertise the fact that like Dune Messiah is coming out, and it was treated as like, all right, this is like the end of Dune. Like it's one story, and this is the end. I think would have got more love from the Academy, but the fact that they knew by the end of last year, like he was absolutely working on another Dune movie next. People are like, oh, like okay, so this isn't the end of the story. And Dune Part Two also ends on it. It has an ending, but it's like a cliffhanger ending. I mean, when Frank Herbert wrote the book, from my understanding, is like, I guess it wasn't necessarily designed to continue. Like it was more like this is the end, but then the readers did clearly just didn't understand his what he was trying to get across with his story. So he's like, all right, I'm going to write this sequel epilogue, which is what we're going to be
Yeah,
getting with the third movie in the series. And then from there, it just spawned into like a let's keep telling these stories in this universe and this thing continue, which Warner Brothers Discovery will likely do after Doom Messiah, and they're gonna milk this thing to death. Who knows what
it's
creative will stay involved in it after Messiah?
yeah,
But as far as the the trilogy, even though it's just two books, and they're so adamant about the fact that Dune parts one and two were one story, just broken in half, kind of like Kill Bill being one movie broken in half, and other and Wicked and things like that. Um, it's not really, I guess, a trilogy, but even Lord of the Rings, like it's one book, but it's like three parts of one story. Um, but yeah, I we'll see how the payoff ultimately is with because I mean ultimately we're getting a payoff to a payoff with the next Dune movie, which should be tougher to pull off. Um, just because, like we said, from what we've heard, like this next one's like more like Corey read the book and he was very very hyped on Dune Part Two and all the stuff that like the characters we hadn't met yet and all the aspects of the first book that they hadn't covered in the Dune Part One and how much they saved for Dune Part Two. But he was also let us know like Dune Messiah is a very different beast than um, the first two Dune movies, the first like the first book. So I mean, from what I've read, it's not the next one isn't even like as long as half of either of the Dune movies as far as pages go. So
yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see how this one ultimately plays off, and if it's going to be able to be a satisfying, feel like a satisfying ending, or if it's more, or if it's going to be more of like a Godfather Part Three, um, where it doesn't necessarily seem like it needs to be made. Because Dune Part Two is, like I said, does end on a cliffhangery type ending, but at the same time, like the ending is concrete, like in what like they are doing. Um, and it's, I mean, it's an ugly ending. The more you think about it, but it also feels fitting based on the story they had been telling for the 5 to 6 hours that they told.
Yeah.
So, and like you said,
I,
seeing it in theaters couldn't just a fantastic experience. One of the best IMAX experiences, and I didn't even see it in like a 70 millimeter IMAX. But just the sound, man, holy crap!
yeah. No, it was. I I get sad every time someone tells me it's kind of like Avatar, or someone tells me like, "Oh yeah, I saw this on the plane," or you know,
Why would you do that to
it's like,
yourself?
oh, like you fool, you should have seen it in the theater when it
Yeah,
came out. Not a lot of movies that I feel that strongly about. Like you need to see this on the big screen, but this is one where I do feel strongly that way. And I'd be remiss to mention that this was on Corey's list as well. Corey did
oh
see this
yeah, this
movie.
this would have been very high.
Yeah, Corey did see this movie. He enjoyed it a lot. And I think he was really looking forward to seeing how they did Messiah, just because he, unlike us, read the books, like you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yep.
So
Yeah, no, he was at the theater so obnoxiously early for this one that like there's a photo of him that Kate took of him just sitting outside of the IMAX because they couldn't let him in, they wouldn't let him into the theater yet, and he's just like looks absolutely miserable, like waiting because like we live in the world of assigned seats now. But yeah, he had his popcorn ready to go. Didn't have the Dune popcorn bucket, unfortunately. He that was one of the buckets he did not buy. Um, it would have made that photo would have been all the funnier if he had the Dune popcorn bucket in his hand. But yeah, no, he loved it. Definitely would have been high on his list.
all right, well that completes my top 10 list. Murph, I know there's a few on your list that we haven't covered, so you want to kind of get into what
Sure.
else you've got on your list?
Yeah, I'll start with number 10. I had a complete unknown. This was one last minute decision for me to bump it up. I saw it for a second time recently, and that's what ultimately knocked it up. And I decided I took a documentary off that was on the middle of my list. Superman, a Christopher Reeve story. Check it out if you like docs. But ultimately, I feel like I should just keep it a straightforward narrative. So with my top 10. Um, Complete Unknown, a biopic of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan. I mean, everyone probably knows this by this point. Timothy Chalamet plays him. Um, I did. I'm not too familiar with Bob Dylan's career or anything, so could have got plenty of things wrong. But I was very invested in the story and the other musicians that are a part of it. Some very well known, like Johnny Cash, who Boyd Holbrook played. Others not as known, like Joan Baez, played by Monica Barbaro, or Pete Seeger, played by Edward Norton. But yeah, the entire ensemble absolutely crushes it. The musical performances by everyone are very strong. They sound like it, it's their voices. They're not being like dubbed using like the original musicians' voices or anything. I believe they recorded like the music like live on set. I'm not 100% certain, um, but I know a lot of movies in the past previously didn't do that, and now it seems like they've started doing that more, where they will actually record the vocals on set um, live while filming. But yeah, despite the fact that he comes across as a total asshole in the movie, at like Bob Dylan, He still gives
Yeah, he's
an
a very
interesting
unlikable.
performance. Yeah, he's not. He doesn't come across well. Um, I mean, he compared to like Edward Norton, who's Pete Seeger, who comes across as like Mister
Mr.
Rogers
Rogers. Yeah.
of the music business. Um, like seeing them go in like their opposite directions, like it like hurts to see, and then at the same time, you like want to see Bob Dylan do his thing at the end when he finally goes electric at Newport. At least I did. Like I did like the still.
I still,
I still enjoyed the
yeah,
stick it to the man situation, even though at the same time I was conflicted because it's like you can't just do like this simple thing and like just do what you're like the guy who like helped your career get going, like who's deeply invested in this music festival, just wants you to do. Like just don't play if you're like gonna like if your convictions are that strong that you don't want to be put into this box. So like
that's
I'd
kind of
like
how I felt. I was like, Pete Seeger is just such a nice guy. He's just asking you to do this like one thing. He's like the whole reason that you have a career, and then you're just gonna be like stick a middle finger up at him, and
yeah.
the at the venue is kind of like
Was very conflicted by that.
it felt very much like you were supposed to be like, yeah, Bob Dylan, go get him, and I was like, oh, I wish they kind of like presented that in a different way, where I felt a little, um, yeah, I, it's very conflicting
And
to say the
it's a
least.
testament to Edward Norton's performance that you're not 100% going, yeah, go get him. Because I mean, you are saying that towards Norbert Leo Butz's character, who's like running the Newport Folk Festival, and who comes across as a pretentious asshole. Um,
Yep.
but like his buddy isn't, and at the same time, like when Bob's basically saying like you haven't even like listened to my new album, like and like he's clearly hurt by that aspect, like you're not even giving it a chance. Like it shows how like close minded like people in that community were towards electric and just other instruments being involved. Um, so I thought they played out the whole should he, shouldn't he, like should you be like rooting for him, like breaking the rules, or be like, damn, you like hurt your buddy. Um, so yeah, no, that what stuck what stood out to me the most on the second viewing, and is what really pushed it up into the top 10 for me. Because that I was that and a real pain. I was very close to being the, like, which one do I put in my top 10 when I decided no docs should be allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. What's kind of weird is I would say like the first half of the movie, I was watching it because I just saw it yesterday, and I was like, man, this could definitely be a top 10. And as it went on, I think just like how unlikable they made Bob Dylan, I was just like, and like I was just not invested in him, like by the halfway point, just because I was just like, I don't really care like about this guy. He's just a jerk.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean it's tough to pull off unlikable protagonists.
yeah, and so I
But
didn't
Timothy
think.
Chalamet did it twice in 2024, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, this one didn't do it as much just because it was like he was uninteresting to me and unlikable at the same time.
Yeah,
Um, and hard to, I was like tempted to turn the subtitles on at times because I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying.
yeah, that's Bob
Um,
Dylan for you.
yeah, which is, in character. But yeah, Edward Norton, man, he just, if I didn't know how Edward Norton looks so well and see him in so much stuff, you could almost forget like that's Edward Norton because of just like he changes his voice, his mannerisms. Obviously, they changed the hair, give him more of a receding hairline than what he has. Um, but man, he became like a completely different person. So that actually really impressed me so much so that I was like, you were talking about him, it being between him and Kieran Culkin as supporting actor at the time. I was really heavy on Culkin, and now I'm kind of like, I guess like I I probably would have edged it over Edward Norton just because of like how different of a character he becomes
Yeah,
for that movie.
yeah. No, he was one of the greatest actors of his generation, and um, this was another example of why. And it was a supporting performance, unlike Kieran Culkin, who was a co-lead. Um, but when you're a co-lead, you have a better chance of winning a supporting actor Oscar. Um, but all right, number 9, I had Conclave. This was something that I wouldn't have expected to make my top 10 prior to seeing it, but it was a very gripping film for a movie that's basically just like gossiping and voting on who should be the next pope, with sort of a mysterious intrigue in the background with um, what exactly it was the previous pope, um, divulging information to or information to and about before he passed away, and it just I don't know. It plays like a paperback book you'd get at like an airport, just like done extremely well. The
It is based on a book,
editing,
isn't it?
music, cinematography, directing, acting, everything was just aces. I think it is based on a book, but I'm not.
Yeah, novel by Robert Harris.
Okay, yeah, like it, like plays like just like some cheap book, but it just everyone involved is so talented that it like feels elevated. Um, so I don't have too much else to add. I mean, we talked about this movie in our Oscar episode. Um, but I was just
Yeah.
like for a movie that's just strictly like talking about basically an election process. It was very gripping and engaging throughout.
Oh yeah, Conclave. I mean, I feel like we've seen documentary type stuff on conclaves, and it's like the smoke is the most interesting
Yeah,
part, and like
that's
what.
like the part like I was like aware of like prior,
So yeah, the way they made this into
not the
like
voting process.
yeah, the way they made the voting process into like a drama, yeah, it was just like I mean, really commendable that they were able to do that. Like you said, all the acting was top notch. Um, Ralph Fiennes being like the standout to me.
Oh, without a
Um,
doubt.
and then yeah, the music being great and the cinematography being great. Yeah, I mean, it was just a really well made movie.
Mm-hmm. All right, then my number 8 film was I Saw the TV Glow, and number 7 was My Old Ass. So we covered the two of them. Number 6, I had Saturday Night. This goes towards the types of films that are really at my wheelhouse, similar to Anora, where it all takes place and is a frenetic and fast paced and like one night. Um, Granted that for Anora, it was just one large chunk of the movie. For Saturday Night, I mean, it's kind of is going in real time in an hour and a half before the first episode of Saturday Night Live goes to air, and just showing all the craziness behind the scenes to make it actually happen, when they have to hit that 11:30 start time on Saturday night in October of 1975. But yes, I mean they obviously took a lot of creative liberties, and took things from throughout like the first issues that took place throughout the first season and jumbled them all in, together to make a more um, dramatic movie. And but I thought it was so damn funny. I would like I'm a Saturday Night Live fanboy, so like this was right up my alley to begin with, even if it didn't just deal with lots of crazy events taking place over one night. Um, but man, did I enjoy seeing it all happen in a fictionalized fashion. And for me, like didn't work as the only what didn't work as well was like the um, recreations of lot of the sketches and the actors necessarily. What really got me was like the writers and the producers and behind the scenes stuff. That's what fully got me, and because I enjoy that type of stuff. That's why I'm enjoying the studio as much as I am right now on Apple TV Plus, the TV show with Seth Rogen. Just seeing like how these things are made and all the craziness behind the scenes. Like I saw this in a fairly empty theater, like the first I don't know week it was playing around in my area, and I could hear myself being the only person laughing at a lot of jokes, um, which goes to show how the humor was very specific and inside baseball um, for me. But yeah, I know you saw the film as well. Didn't enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought the movie was fine. Didn't really do anything special for me. Not as much of an SNL enthusiast slash historian as you are.
The funny thing is, you
Um,
watch more SNL than I do. I'm more of like like the overall history of it. Um, like I do watch my fair share. I haven't as much in recent years, but I don't know. Just the history of it is so fascinating to me, just because of how much um, it's done to pop culture and comedy and music, and it's just the institution is just beyond incredible.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so I don't think I got as much of the inside baseball because I'm not as steeped in the history as you are.
Yeah, I mean, I have a book right here that's if I can grab it, which I'm struggling with.
Good armpit shot while you were doing that.
No, sorry, my
I'm
bad.
just kidding.
It like a long ass book, like
Yeah,
this is 600 something pages, and this was in a paperback that isn't even the final version because they've expanded it since. Um, oh yeah, you really did get my armpit. Oh well, but yeah, like I said, the history definitely does it for me when it comes to this show because it's been around for
yeah,
so damn long.
yeah. No, it was definitely right up your alley. Uh, I thought it was good. I thought some of like the actors they had play SNL cast members were really good. I thought the Chevy Chase guy was great. Um,
Yes, he was the standout amongst the characters playing performers
yeah, so I thought that was really well done. Obviously, a really well made movie.
or
Um,
actors playing performers on the show.
just didn't enjoy it quite as much as you did. Obviously, audiences didn't rush out to see this one. Um, the fact that you saw it opening weekend or opening week and it was an empty theater, I think, is not because you happen to
Yeah,
find
and that was even
an
before it
abandoned.
went like wide. So like it was only in like 50 theaters in the country, and people weren't bothering to see it.
Yeah, this one was in and out of theaters. It felt like pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and that for not a lot of people went to go see it, and I'm not really sure what the reason was for that, but um, I had on the
People
box
don't
office
people
poll, and
don't
I didn't.
necessarily like watching things about Hollywood. I've noticed the only thing that really movie about making movies or TV that really has worked was like Tropic Thunder, but it's a fake thing. And it worked just because of the sheer outrageousness of it. That's what pulled audiences in. But
Yeah,
people don't seem to like movies about Hollywood. Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood. Um, but audience don't seem to be as into it, I've noticed, when it comes to box office.
that's fair. All right, what do you got next on your list?
Okay. Number five, I got The Brutalist. I ended up moving this down a bit just because the other ones are ones that I've rewatched, um, and I know they hold up. And this is one that I can't see myself going back to rewatch anytime soon because of the subject matter. Incredibly bleak. It's The Brutalist. Um, and also I know it's never going to live up to the experience of seeing it the first time in theaters and IMAX with an intermission, with a full crowd, and just that whole experience. It was made for the big screen, and it's not going to work as well at home based on the type of story it is. While Dune still can hold up well with surround sound and a nice 4K TV, I don't think the Brutalist will work as well, um, especially with that with an intermission and everything. I wonder if the Blu-ray 4K or whatever has the intermission on it. You watched it on what as PVOD rental?
Yeah, and
It
they,
had the
they had
it
the
had the
had a
intermission.
minute had a minute intermission with
Oh,
a
it was
photo.
just a minute. Okay.
It was a minute, I think. It was a minute intermission with like a photo
Yeah, I
of
think in
the
theaters
family.
it was either 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe it was just 15 minutes. I know ours was 15, um, which was perfect amount of time to run to the bathroom, get snacks and stuff, and get back in there before it restarted. But
I don't know.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
the
yeah.
they're saying the PVOD was 15 minutes from what I'm reading online. So maybe it was a minute because I fast forwarded it.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense when you're home and like you can like pause it at any time.
Yeah, true. But yeah, the entire experience definitely helped elevate this film. I know you weren't as big on it as I was, but similar to Conclave, I just thought it did a overall fantastic job with all the technical aspects along with the acting, and the fact that it gripped me for nearly 3.5 hours. Um, just when it's about an architect immigrating to America and trying to live the American dream and it just being a nightmare. Um, it deeply powerful and unsettling. Um, no real, it's not no real positive happy ending in this one or anything. Um, but
No.
it definitely had a lot to say, and I mean, we had like pretty like long conversation about it after you finally saw it via text, going back and forth about some of its more controversial aspects and what exactly it was trying to say and mean and things like that. So, not the most easiest movie to digest, but one that I think is worth people's worth to check out at least once if you got the
Yeah.
time.
No, I mean, I agree with the cinematography and all of that was pretty impressive. I yeah, I mean, like you said, the story's kind of bleak and it's got not a lot of I don't know. I guess I wasn't overly interested in his completion or lack of completion of the rec center or whatever the heck it was supposed to be.
The YMCA.
Um, and then yeah, I mean, it's tough watching this guy just get shit
Beaten
on.
down in all aspects of life, seemingly.
Yeah, which I get. It's the point, but um, yeah, it's just a not my favorite watch. But yeah, I mean, it was shot really well. It was acted really well. Music was good. So I mean, there's nothing to complain about. I mean, the runtime obviously is long. Um, could it have been shorter? Probably, but I don't think it. That's not what it wanted to be. It wanted to be a long epic movie, and so that's what we got.
Yeah. Um, all right, and then the last film on my list, which we have not talked about, my number four pick, Challengers. Um, this was just a fun movie. one that made me laugh quite a bit. Zendaya, Mike Faced, and Josh O'Connor, the three of them. It's really all carried on the three of their shoulders, and this weird little sort of thruple codependent relationship they have with each other, an unofficial thruple. Um, the two guys both crushing on Zendaya's uh, world famous tennis player, up and comer, and they're tennis players themselves, and following their careers and how their lives go in divergent paths. But I mean, it plays like a more comedic sports version of The Social Network, and but not based on a true story. And I love The Social Network. It had Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross return to do the music for this one, and it chose soundtracks absolutely killer. It was that Doom Part Two and Wild Robot when it came to music for me, along with Brutalist and Conclave. Also, those I think I've talked about this how those were like the five scores that really stood out for me this year. But Challengers Dune and Wild Robot in particular. Um, but yeah, no, I just as both a tennis fan and a fan of the style of storytelling that's very nonlinear and goes back and forth to kind of unravel what could have been done in a straightforward fashion, but would have been less interesting if it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Worked for me well. Camera work and the tennis scenes were shot in a really exciting manner, and the really worked with that pulsating score that Reznor and Ross bring to it. But yeah, no, I thought the film was electric in pretty much all aspects, and yeah, that's why, despite being a year old now, it ended up as high as it did on my list.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed this movie. Not to the level that you enjoyed it, but I thought the score was great. I thought it was shot well, like you said. I know some people were upset of the fake out on the this was be like called the threesome movie, and like the fake out on it, there isn't really a threesome,
Yeah,
uh, which is what they one of the things they heavily imply in the
the
trailer.
trailer made it look like that.
Uh, I don't. I think part of it for me is probably like I don't watch tennis, so I don't understand the rules probably as much as you do.
Definitely not as well as I do then.
Yeah. So I mean that I think kind of maybe not quite enjoy it to the level that you did, but I thought it was shot well for the subject matter, which I don't find tennis to be the most exciting of sports, and I thought they did a good job of trying to make it exciting. So yeah, I thought it was a good movie.
And I thought it, Zendaya's performance, just to talk about her for a second, it was really impressive in how this was the first time I ever saw her in a movie where I felt like she was an actual adult, um, versus everything else where she still seems like even Dune, like doesn't seem like a full fledged like woman. And yet
Yeah,
they all in the flashback scenes, she plays like she could be like MJ in the Spider-Man movies.
yeah,
Um, so I was really impressed with the way that they had the actors portray their younger selves and their older, more hardened, grizzled, world wary versions of themselves versus the fun loving group that they were when it goes to their flashback scenes. But she's the one who stood out the most in the differences of her performance. I mean, her character also went through the most shit in the fact that she has the injury that takes her out of a career that makes her become a coach instead of being the all pro that she would have been had she not had a career ending injury while in college in the movie.
yeah. The outies and the innies. Um, Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think that you're right. Zendaya. That's probably one of the performances where Zendaya actually did play an older character, although she can, as you pointed out, also play a younger character still very, very well. Um, Playing a college age kid, she does with like ease. She very much can still feel like she's in college, but at the same time, with this dual role of having to play herself over, I don't know if it's like a 10-year time span or how much time has passed
It's like
between.
12 years.
Okay. Um, she does also kind of come across as more mature. So, I mean, I think she's probably getting to that point where she's probably going to continue to get more mature roles just based
Yeah.
on her age at this point. But yeah, I think they all did a good job of playing um, younger and older versions of themselves. But no, that's a fair point out that Zendaya particularly stood out, and we haven't really seen her play that type of role before.
Yeah. All right. And then we talked about my 1 to 3 movies already. Number 3, I had The Wild Robot. Number 2, Dune Part 2. And number 1, Anora. Um, so, yeah, we finally have talked about our top 10 of 2024. We did it. And then we both saw, I think, everything for the most part we wanted to see. I don't think anything you missed was more on smaller scale and less likely to make the top 10. I'm sure there's still other things you want to see from the year that you haven't
Yeah.
gotten to yet, but you saw the ones you really wanted to hit. But
Yep.
we've got some other ones on Corey's list that we didn't talk about. Any, I'll say some of
Do you want to
them,
just
and then if there's anything of note, we can bring it up. Or you actually had an idea, so you run with it.
okay? Yeah, I mean, I think at first, I think let's just read off Corey's list, and then if there's anything that stands out to us, we can cover it then. But let's
Cool.
just go through Corey's top, not maybe not top 20, but Corey's 20 of movies that he saw and enjoyed. So 20 is What You Wish For.
I put it in alphabetical order, so you can just start from the top.
Okay. Um, so starting alphabetically, 1 through 20. Number 1 is Abigail. Number 2 is Alien Romulus. Number 3 is Bad Boys Ride or Die. Number 4 is The Bike Riders. Number 5, Civil War. Number 6, Cuckoo. Number 7, Deadpool and Wolverine. Number 8, Dune Part 2. Number 9, The Fall Guy. Number 10, Furiosa, a Mad Max story. Number 11, His Three Daughters. Number 12, Hitman. Number 13, I Saw the TV Glow. Number 14, Late Night with the Devil. Number 15, Longlegs. Number 16, Maxine. Number 17, Monkey Man. Number 18, My Old Ass. Number 19, Ricky Stenicki. And number 20, What You Wish For. So I think you and I were both kind of, was it What You Wish For?
Yeah,
I think we were both kind of wondering like what that movie was.
we know he. All right, so Corey talked about it. We did a mid-year 2024 episode, like our favorites at that point. He did talk about it then. I don't know. It's one of those movies where I don't know where he finds them. Um, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It because like it wasn't a theatrical movie. It wasn't anything I saw being promoted on like social media for a streaming platform. So I'm just like, where the fuck did Corey find these things? And it's been like a regular thing. Like when we did our um, like what we watched segment back in the day, like in our earlier episodes, or we did the yearly film series. He'd always bring out these like obscure movies that like nobody has seen, and this definitely qualifies as one of them. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, we know he liked it because it was one that he specifically brought up in that episode. Nick Stahl is the star of it. So I mean, this guy hasn't really done too much since the 2000s that I'm aware of.
No.
Um, but yeah, no, it worked for Corey. Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, we called him our wild card for a reason. I mean, he could definitely
yes,
always like come up with and find and enjoy, some off the wall stuff. So I don't know. Maybe what you wish for is something that we got to watch at
Yeah,
some point.
maybe we should do that as a watch party type episode, um, which is
I don't
something
even know. It's
we abandoned in the past, but it was something that we've done, and we could always do it for this specific movie.
yeah.
I mean, we're
Um,
kind of doing it right now with Twin Peaks, the TV show, which we'll eventually get to. So it wouldn't be the worst idea to do this for a movie.
for sure. Yeah. No, I'm definitely interested. Have you the other one that I haven't heard of, and maybe you have because it seems like it's got a lot bigger of a cast. Is I've never heard of His Three Daughters.
Yeah.
Is that one you saw?
Yes. Corey, this was the last movie I saw with Corey.
Okay.
Um, we saw it at for a free screening um, with the director doing a Q&A. Um, it's a Netflix movie. It was released by Netflix. Stars Natasha Lyonne, Carrie Coon, and Elizabeth Olsen.
It's a
Um,
great cast.
oh yeah, it's a very good film, and we talked about it a lot after because it's just completely reliant on those three performances, um, and just how different they all are. Carrie Coon comes across as like a, such a condescending asshole. Elizabeth Olsen comes across as like a hippy dippy, like very like chill, like want like people pleaser type person, and Natasha Lyonne kind of comes off as a more um, quieter version of her typical scene of her typical acting style. She was the scene stealer or as far as I'm concerned. Who gave the best performance, the most layered performance um, compared to the others, but all three do great work. But yeah, I do remember very much afterwards us talking about and Corey talking about how like annoying he found Carrie Coon's character to be. Not that it was bad performance, but like that she was just such an asshole. So I really wish you could have got to see White Lotus this season and see like how much of a different type of performance she does on this
Yeah.
um, versus. Come to think of it, she could be playing the exact same character, and this like as she did in His Three Daughters, but this is her on vacation bitching about her life back at home and just being with friends versus being with family, like in a stressful situation with family at home, which I never actually connected until right now. Um, but yeah, no, it hit like it was in the we got that free screening back in August. It hit Netflix in September. Um, and yeah, definitely something I would recommend because there are a bunch of streaming movies on this list like that really didn't get theatrical releases. I mean, my old ass ultimately did. At one point, it seemed like it was just going to be theatrical only. Ricky Stenicki was a streaming like Prime Video release from Peter Farrelly of the Farrelly brothers. Corey thought this one was. I mean, it was probably. I didn't know he thought it was absolutely hilarious. It was really it's John Cena, Zac Efron.
Yeah.
It was a funny
Wasn't
movie.
for wasn't for
Um,
me, but yeah, my brother really liked it too.
yeah, I know some other people who like really enjoyed it as well. Um, but yeah, he dug that one. The humor. I mean, no surprise. Like we like Cena is just a hilarious comedic performer. So um,
Yeah, and the Corey's love for wrestling, it was, right up his alley too.
exactly. Um, good
I
point
th-
there.
I think I guess the only other one that kind of stands out to me on the list is Annie and Romulus, which we didn't talk about. Um, Mainly because I think the three of us were probably that's probably one of the last movies that the three of us talked about.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
it was the last movie Corey saw um, before passing.
yeah.
So yeah, we
So
talked. It was definitely the most fresh one.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. Just
We all had
that
differing opinions.
we did all have differing opinions. I think Corey was in the most positive opinion.
By far.
I leaned positive, but was more in the middle, and then I think you were initially negative, and then
I
you
was more
know,
mixed negative.
yeah, and then got more positive. I think
Second.
when you rewatched it, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, but
But
I
I didn't
just
get to tell Corey he was right, but unfortunately. But
yeah
I'm glad I didn't see it with him because I would have been a total buzzkill afterwards. Um, while he
yeah
clearly went out of the theater on a high.
yeah no it's never good to watch a movie with someone when they're negative on a movie that you really enjoy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like not a fun experience
but I know for me this kind of triggered me to go back and rewatch. I rewatched Alien and Aliens leading up to Romulus. Um, so I remember like I was got to talk to you guys about kind of my rewatch, and then I was going through Alien Isolation, which is the video game that takes place in between Alien and Aliens. Um, so yeah, it definitely was fun, talking to Corey about what that was like, and the parts of the level that annoyed me. So yeah, Alien Romulus just kind of sticks out because it was one that we were all kind of talking about. We all had differing opinions, and
yeah,
um, it was definitely got me at least like reinterested in the Alien franchise.
for sure. um Abigail I'll bring up only because not so much for like we were all excited for it because it was like the director's follow up to Ready or Not, Scream, and Scream 6. um but I'll bring it up specifically just because like our connection with like Ready or Not and how like we kind of like during the middle of JP's bachelor party, like when we're down in Texas, because we were at the home of the Alamo Draft House, the three of us like sort of like did our own thing mid bachelor party and went to like go to the Alamo Draft House to see Ready or Not. And
Yeah,
even though Corey and me had already seen it, but we were like, dude, you got to see this movie. Like, it's really damn good. And it was it was playing there. It was our best option of what to see when we had a couple hours to kill while everyone was just playing Mario Kart back at the house or doing their own thing. One of our other friends went to see a relative, but yeah, it reminds me of that and just like our enjoyment of like Radio Silence's movies. Um,
yeah,
so hopefully, Ready or Not 2 lives up to the first one.
yeah. No, it was that was a really good time. That was a fun little mini bachelor party that you, me, and Corey had. Uh, and yeah, that was my first Draft Alamo or Alamo Draft House experience. So it was super
Oh
enjoyable. Like,
shit, that was your first one?
hmm
Oh no way! I forgot
yeah,
about that aspect. I mean, I know we saw El Camino the day after JP's wedding, a few months later,
yeah,
a couple months later, but I didn't realize that was your first time ever going. Because Corey and I had gone, like we saw Back to the Future Part 2 on Future Day. Like that was the first time we ever gone to one. That was back in 2015. Um, so this was 2019 that we're talking about. I didn't realize you never had gotten to one prior to that.
no, that was my first draft
Okay,
Alamo Draft House
no wonder
experience.
we had to get you there because I was excited about going because we were in like where the Alamo Draft House was founded, being in Austin,
Right.
Texas. But you were just excited the fact to finally go to an Alamo Draft House. Okay,
Yeah.
and
So
and yeah,
that was the
we all loved Ready or Not.
yeah Abigail not as good,
No, no, that's
um,
good. Definitely not as good. It's still fun,
but still a fun
and
movie. Yeah.
I not as good as their Scream movies either. I would say, but still fun.
Yeah.
Um, Hitman, we all talked about in the summer. That was on our we all like saw and enjoy list. Me and Corey caught that as a double feature in the city after Memento. It wasn't like an official double feature, but it was playing at the same theater, um, back to back, and it was a chance to see Memento in theaters and also be like, oh, I can actually see this Richard Linklater film, um, rather than on Netflix. I can see it in theaters like it's intended. Um,
Yeah.
so that was cool. Um, Civil War, I know he dug a lot. Um, we definitely would have been pumped for Warfare coming out this month. Furiosa, you just caught finally. Corey was
Yeah, didn't
very
love
high
it.
on this one, while this was like one where I went out like a fucking total buzzkill, and like definitely was like killing the vibes. um, but I did enjoy it more on my second viewing. But you weren't too big of a fan of it, right?
No, and I think Fury Road's fantastic. So
Oh, Fury Road's incredible. My mistake was watching
yeah,
Fury Road the night before I saw Furiosa, or 2 days
yeah.
before I saw Furiosa.
No, I would never watch Furious again. I would just watch Fury Road instead.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I feel about the movie. I don't know. I think yeah, just recasting Furiosa was kind of didn't really work for me, and yeah, I don't know. It's just not as good, but it's an okay movie. I didn't like it as much as Corey did, and as much as I think you now like it more than I do following your second watch.
yeah, I would agree with that. And then, yeah, I guess Maxine, big to note, just because um, we were all looking forward to that one, the final concluding chapter of the X trilogy. I think Corey and I were both bigger fans of it than you were. The final chapter, but definitely wasn't as good as maybe necessarily we were expecting. And it seemed like Long Legs probably took the hype out of that one that month when it came to horror, or definitely did. I think Corey probably even might have liked Long Legs more. I'm not 100% certain, but yeah, um, don't really have
Yeah, I mean it
too
was
many other
yeah.
pointers.
He got to see. I mean, there was a lot of great movies that he got to see. Obviously, there's a few movies on our list that he didn't get to see, but yeah, I think ultimately it was a strong year. Strong first 8 months, and then
Yeah,
it ended strong in the last 4 months. So um, took us a long time to get to this episode, but yeah, I mean, I think it's. I think there was a lot of good stuff. So I think we were overall pretty happy with what we got to see in 2024.
yeah. I think 2024 was a down year in comparison to 2023 as far as film went, but it still had a lot to celebrate and appreciate. Hopefully, 2025 picks up its game and ends a lot stronger than it's started over the first 3 months of first quarter of the year.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
all right, that's a wrap for today. This has been Doug and Murph at Live Breathe Film, signing off.